Would you like to feel seen? Would you like to feel heard? Would you like to be acknowledged? I heard something for you, but it may not be what you think. We all want that at some point in our lives. Be seen, heard, acknowledged. And I appreciate there's a tenderness to that soft at the root cause. Recently, I've been asked to do that by someone. He reflected to me that he didn't feel seen. He didn't feel heard. I'm not even sure that he felt respected. But he didn't say that. So just to be clear, that is inferential. Certainly based on what he was articulating and the way he was voicing himself with me, that seemed reasonably likely to be true. And I have compassion for that. Now, where do we go with this? Here's the challenge. I can't do that for you. And you would think, yes, you can. Or maybe you simply really realize I can't do that for you. And I've had my own journey with this. I think we all want to be seen, actually not for who we are. That's the nuance here that we don't always receive. We want to be seen to someone that we're not, usually. We think we want to be seen for who we are, but we don't let people see us for who we are. In fact, we pretend. We come up with all these personas. Oh, this is me on social media. This is my life. Wonderful. It's great in all these ways. Look at me, I'm so actualized. Look at me, I'm the business coach hasn't broken 6 figures ever in his life. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. And oh, this is me, I'm a leader, but he's never led a team. Now, innately, we all have everything, right? I don't want to take that away from anyone. It's not my role to. You are everything. The truth is, we have this habit as men, and I'm not going to speak for women. I'm not in a woman's body at this time. We have a habit as men of wanting other men and women, let's be real, to see us, to hear us, to acknowledge us, to respect us. And they rarely do until we do. You see, that's where it begins. So we must see ourselves. We must actually hear ourselves and some of the nonsense that we're speaking to the world before we actually want people to hear us for our truth. And it just is as it is. And we're not willing to see it as it is. And then we want to be acknowledged and respected, but we don't acknowledge and respect ourselves. You know, the man running around having sex with anyone, doing this, doing that, not a problem. The challenge is that it is a problem when at the root that behavior is driven. And I'm not saying, by the way, that sex necessarily means an absence of self-respect. I am acknowledging that there are men, and I have been one of them, that do behave with sex and sexually with an absence of self-respect and actually looking for acknowledgement and for women to see them in a certain way. Yes, I'm the man, I'm the alpha. And that's never the alpha. You would barely ever recognize the alpha in modern contemporary society if they're right before you, because we've become distorted as to what that really means. And so usually that's actually more of a challenger energy that's seeking validation. And I like that too. So I'm not sitting here that I'm some sort of actualized man that's got all the answers. I'm actually really sharing this in some respects because sometimes we must be willing to just look at ourselves as we are. And so here's the subtlety. It is to see things and oneself as we are. Now, there is a phrase, see a man not as he is, but as he could be. Now, what's beautiful in that is an acknowledgement that everyone and everything has potential. And it is true that unless you had the vision for, wow, there's this beautiful garden that could be here, you go, we can plant seeds, let's have flowers. So it is true that maybe the inspiration of vision as to how it could be causes the planting of a seed and may inspire the watering of that seed But if I don't see it as a seed and I start pouring water on it like it's a fully fledged flower, it probably won't grow. I may overwater it. I may underwater it. I need to see it as it is. And I need to make sure that, you walk around the park, maybe there's a tree. Maybe that tree has a little protective outer layer just for a time until it's fully fledged. Is that outer layer controlling the tree? Oh, you won't let me be a tree. Now you're surrounding me with your little fence protecting my little stem. I'm a tree. No, you're a sapling. And sometimes you get to in life, just see yourself as that. Because then instead of seeing this little fence as control, you're like, wow, actually, there's someone providing protection whilst I actually take root and grow. And then when I'm ready, this won't be there. And I'll just be the oak tree. And as men, we're running around the world asking all these women to see us as these alpha male, actualized men, or whatever it is we want to be. Sometimes it's not that, actually, but every man has an idea of how they'd like to be seen by the feminine and also by the masculine. And rarely does that tally up with actually in a scoreboard of where we are across an array of different categories, mentally, emotionally, financially, or whatever it really is. And even if we have lots of money available and wealth and assets and resources, rarely is that man, I've been that man, actually in union with the level of financial actualization and emotional maturation. Same thing with my body. I was 210 pounds, 5% body fat, until I realized I was just a small man in a big body. Really, I was just a boy in a big man's body. And so it was only when I could actually just see things as they are, accept them as they are, that I could really get to a deeper availability of truth. And in that truth was possibility and opportunity and the potential. And then the potential actually could be actualized. And I said, or challenged this phrase of see a man not as he is, but as he could be. Because he already is all he could be. And you might think, hang on, is that condemnation? No. The truth is that you're already actualized. You're just actualized differently than you think you should be actualized or you want to be. You're already God spark energy actualized. And a being that is actualized already is seeing you as that. It's no different than the creator. You have your ideas about what that is. That could be a man in clouds in the sky. It could be someone that we commune with through a book. It could be something that we get prison to when we maybe go and drink some DMT potions in the jungle or whatever it is, right? You have your own framework for that. That's yours. And we remember it's all within, ideally, but there's no ideal about it because that's the beauty of God. So many colors of God, textures of God, everybody gets to choose. For me, the remembrance of innate essence then brings forward the capacity to witness and observe that in others and see them as they are. It is like a baby. We don't think the baby's just pooped his pants. Oh, the baby's crying. Bad baby. Bad baby just pooped his pants. Bad baby's like crying. And then we're smiling. Oh, good baby. Good baby's smiling. Good baby. Good baby can stand up now. The challenge is that we actually often do that. And then that starts to set in motion from the more of a personal perspective, a series of craving and aversion away and towards behaviors that just have people oscillating rather than truly what Buddha was speaking to, the middle way, the absence of oscillation between subjective experience, perception, and duality, ideally actualizing unity with polarity. This whole story with this guy, and just to close the loop on the baby's pooping, the opportunity there is just to witness. I've just been a baby. I've been pooping my pants, rolling on the floor. Sometimes I'm crying. Sometimes I'm laughing. Sometimes I feel like I'm winning. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing. But all of that's still a story, right? God's just right there thinking nothing, actually. Not thinking good baby, bad baby. Baby's doing what it just is because it's like Dhamma. It's nature. It's isness, right? So if that's how creation is observing us, if God is witnessing us simultaneously, whilst we're still playing with the linguistics and time, as our finite nature and infinite nature. And because within infinite, we still have finite. It's a paradox because if infinite is, as you see in the word, but essentially, infinite is all, then within all is finite. And you have, it would be like a figure of eight, except they wouldn't be equal circles because you have the perpetual eternal nature within a circle. In a figure of eight, if you had one circle and a slightly smaller circle, it would almost be like showing where you have the eternal going, the eternal circle, eternal becomes infinite, finite, infinite, finite, infinite, finite. And it's actually the emergence of one into the other, the merging, the fusion, and then you're in eternal. It's eternal nature. So this is all going on. This is the manner in which we're being experienced. And often we don't consider that. Often we don't understand that. And there is, I won't say higher, but just for ease of mistakes, there is a supreme being. There is a divine power. And we have no idea of all the ways it's observing us at one time. I just gave the most rudimentary and frankly ludicrous response that could sound convincing. But I say it's ludicrous, not because it's invalid, but because I'm aware of just how small that is to the actual truth, even through my own direct experience with the divine and direct experience as divine. So that's true. Can you imagine how ludicrous it is that we're running around asking all these people to see us? But just think about how ludicrous that actually is. Like your entire story, all of your pains, all of your woes, all of your joys, the tattoo on your ass that's hidden under your shorts, I don't know. But the point is, it's just ludicrous to actually ask to be seen, heard, and appreciated and respected fully. The only thing, the only being that can actually do that is God. And that's it. And you'll actualize that over time. And until then, we have the gift of just stop getting so bent out of shape that other men and women don't see us. And guess what happens when that's actually the case? They can see things as they are because you can see things as they are. And then when people can see things as they are, you can see things as they are, they'll come into resonance with beings that are in resonance with things as they are. And that's actually more useful. It's not very useful for you to be a man pretending you're something you're not, going out to attract women that then think I'm with that man, but they're just with this sort of hologram of you that you're trying to keep up with. And then they're becoming, however they're becoming, likely dissatisfied, disconnected, and therefore looking for an exit point because you're not that man. Same thing with other people in business, in projects, whatever it is. When you just end up being this sort of pleading little boy asking to be seen by a group of men, and it shows, energetically it shows. And it's just far better to not speak from the wound, don't live from the wound. It doesn't even need to be made a wound. Just be with yourself as you are. Well, I am as I am where I am. Because when you can see things as they are, and that includes you can actually be authentic. You can show up authentically. The people in your reality are the same. They're literally mirroring. And on that point, an aspect of me voicing this is because I've reflected, right? This guy's shown up in my reality. Now, it is true that it was through a men's retreat when it was a group container. There'll always be a men with many things person, a group of men. It is true that I was brought to that container by a co-facilitator and business partner, not directly. And that actually, we were brought to that container by someone who's known in our circle, but not known directly. So there are a few degrees of separation away from this man. However, I'm voicing this just to call myself out because I don't want any of that nonsense going on in my reality. And so just in case this man, maybe you'll see this one day. If not, that's perfect. Or maybe the joke is, that's me. This is I record it. That's perfect. It just is that simple. I feel great right now just for the hilariousness of this. I'm calling myself out because the truth is I've created so much wealth and I've destroyed wealth. I've been with so many women and I've been ultimately like I've also been, I don't know what word would be, most apt, that I've had all sorts of forms of relational dynamics, infidelity, me behaving in certain ways, the feminine behaving in certain ways. I had all sorts of shenanigans, business, wealth, money, self-worth, the body, all of it. Like people would look at me and they often do call me, maybe I'm like Tarzan. And I am to them. And the truth is, in my 20s, I had bulimia for years and I had had my head down toilets, throwing up more than most people who go out partying all the time and we get so wasted that they're vomiting tequila shots into the toilet. And I had that going on because of an absence of self-worth. I had that going on because of body dysmorphia. So you see, my whole life was dysmorphia. I had a huge body, a great bank account, a 9-figure business, and all of these phenomenal things, like literally weekend on a yacht. Great. Let's hang out on a yacht and party on the yacht. That's the crew I was rolling with. It wasn't my yacht, just for transparency. But so I had all of that. And then I needed to have most of it, thankfully not all of it, but certainly the not self, shredded, absolutely shredded away to the point where I could actually truly, authentically actualize just innate being. And in that, these concepts just all fall away. Even worth, even self-worth, eventually, as the concept of self changes, even that's gone. But not in an unhealthy way, not a dissociative way. Just genuinely, it is this. It's just so, it feels so good. And know that if anything seemed hard, 20 minutes ever, minutes ever met, being the one from now and pretty harsh on himself most of his life. If I've ever been harsh to any man, if I've ever been mean and spiteful, controlling, vindictive, manipulative, extortion, extraction, distrust, power dynamics, all of these things, I've played all these games and I've had them played with me too. And the challenge is it really doesn't matter how invincible you think you are. At that level, you're not. The only thing that's invincible and indestructible is God's spark, his source, is the everythingness. And at that level, you're so far removed from it that even if you have a, figuratively speaking, big castle, if you have a big army, great. But you as the man, you're still crying inside. Unworthiness. Or most won't even look at it. If you're anything like me, you're so busy changing the world, changing people's lives, which I was. And I say that in that tone because I really thought that I was doing it. I really felt that it was a virtuous mission. But the whole time I was just ultimately looking to save myself through saving others, looking to be so busy that I wouldn't even get present in this. And I was deeply upset. And had no one really around me that I could fully confide in. One friend, I'm grateful that I did, at a time where I was really actually suicidal. I regret to. I even voiced to an investor that I felt that way. As much as the business was doing well, the investor relations, shall we say, were not so joyous as some of the PR stories around the company. And I won't go into the full details of that. This transmission, it doesn't seem necessary. The highest and the complexity. But certainly things were not as they were communicated they would be. I think that's a kind way we can. And I think there's a moment where you really think you're a man. And the truth is, I had an ego. That was me. What you don't see is you're just a little mouse. And you think you're not. Because maybe you're muscular and financially wealthy or whatever it is. And this game, by the way, goes on all the way through society, if that's the game you're going to play. And so you think you're the king. Sometimes you even think you're the lion, but you're just a little mouse. and you're not even running around. You're not even hard to catch. You're just there. It's one little finger of a big lion paw on your tail, and you're running only as far as your little tail will let you. So I did that too, and I became the mouse. But I was a good mouse, and at times I also was a good lion. So for a while I fought, but I got outdone. Didn't matter how smart I was, didn't matter how capable I was, didn't matter what I could pull off with the team that I had, the business, and it was just another thing and another thing and another thing. It was like being on quicksand once you get involved with other men like this. And the challenge is you will, if that's the man you are, and you probably think, well, that's not me. And it can't be me. I'm holier than now, and I'm a pure man, I'm a good man. I would never behave certain ways. The challenge is a lot of it can be repressed. I mean, I'm not saying I was walking around with a lot of these patterns conscious. Look, I think if I was really looking at my behaviors with money, business, and women, there were enough proclivities to think, all right, maybe there's something I get to look at. But I wasn't running around with that level of awareness because the truth is I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to look at it. I wasn't willing to actually go there. And the truth is I'd spent so many of my earlier years in life feeling so deeply distraught about what felt like my entire reality being ripped apart, developing this story that anyone I loved or cared for left me, cloned me, or died. And I had probably some pretty good data on which to get to that hallucination. And I say hallucination because it's untrue, yet it was true to me then. And it guided a lot of my decisions. And so I didn't know we'd be talking about this. And I just said today, just tell me what it is to say. Someone somewhere maybe supported me, even go as far as this needs to hear this. So I got involved with a group of men, and for a while things were good. And the truth is, I was alone. I actually was alone. One of them I'd like to give some credit to because actually he's a really beautiful man with, as we all have, deep emotional challenges. And the challenge with that is we can be like volcanoes, mostly dormant, but when we erupt, we cause great harm. And so that eventually occurred. For this particular man, from what I understand, he's not certainly then, when man they change, willing to really look at that, like really look at that. And so he's more interested in looking like a big mountain, a volcano, than something that's actually burning from the inside. And so, even to the point where I actually sat down with an investor. There was a morning where I had just got out of the shower and I thought about killing myself more than ever before. And you wouldn't think that would make sense because I had a great fiscal life. I had a great business life. I was surrounded by some of the smartest people on the planet, creating something that was truly pioneering. And well, actually at that stage, I was less active with women because it just wasn't really a priority. All right, I'll call myself out. I use the word less. Yeah, I was still involved with women, but at a lower level of consciousness than I currently would decide to exhibit and emanate. It's just messy. But I liked it because I was in this luxury life of going to these nice clubs and living in beautiful places and getting caught up in, no, I'll be at cause, I won't say caught up, deciding that I would enter those spaces and play those games. So I did. And I sat down with this investor and I said that I actually had been thinking about killing myself and really feeling it. And he says, I think a little pressure is a good thing. That wasn't quite the answer that I was anticipating. So I didn't really know where to go with that. And for certain reasons beyond the scope of this particular communication, I was entangled. In a web, actually. I wouldn't say lies. That would not be right. It wasn't the energy, but it's subtle because there are ways that you as a man, and I did, breach your own integrity. You have something inside of you that knows a yes. And sometimes it's even as subtle as someone behaving in a certain way and letting it go. And sometimes at the time, it can even seem that you're being caring or loving. You're just being weak. This occurred even at the weekend in a men's container. Men were going through a deep process. And not all sequentially. There was an element of this being sequential. There were about 10 men. And so there was also a linearity. Some men were completing their process before others. But what not all of them were aware of, even though it was stated, was being one man ultimately. And certainly in that container, in that coherence field, the power of the collective presence for collective coherence, healing and resolution. And so some of the men were so joyful and overjoyed that they began to speak to each other. And they were joyful. Now, this presented an interesting example of breaching integrity, because it's not just your integrity, it's integrity of the containers. If that's your business, if that's your relationship, if that's your beingness, integrity is at many levels, right? Cracks emerge and there's less integrity. So here had been specifically, explicitly stated, and the men actually enrolled in agreement by entering the container, that there would be noble silence. And that when their process was complete, they were in a space holding role to support other men. They were even given guidance on how to do that. And here we are. We get to the final man. And he's in a deep process. He's really committed to himself to go deep as he could. And he's really in a very powerful, emotional, deep process. One of the guys, a younger man, and I say that, look, we can all be at a certain level of maturity at any age. And I used to not really like references to maturation, but if you look at ancient cultures, most of them had some system around usually age and years on planet. For example, Mayans, 9-year cycles, 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. Other cultures have different moments of rites of passage and initiation. So there just is something to it. We say no more. You can like it, dislike it. If you're a younger man, I'm not here to get you riled up. Just see it as an opportunity and actually look out for the initiations that you get to receive, as I am. So it's interesting because there are many men at this area of their life where they just haven't actually learned to sit still and be silent. It's like one of the hardest things they can do. And so even if they've just had some experience of bliss and nirvana, and the challenge is they may not have had that in their lives, because again, with compassion, life can be challenging. So here we are, right? And you're the facilitator, you're the space holder. And so there are all these agreements, and then they're talking. And next to them, not literally, but 10 feet away maybe, is a guy who's deep in process. And the field is one field. And so there are subtleties and nuances here, because there is a level at which their energy is bringing a certain frequency that is very welcome in space, because there's that rapture and that joy. The challenge is that they're then breaching the agreement that we have, not directing that energy towards the collective coherence and healing. They're actually then causing the group to fractionate and have like subsections of the group. And they're becoming linguistic, which in the particular experience we were having is not always useful. Words need to be so precise in that space. And they were invited politely to bring that conversation to a completion and remember what they had committed to. And here's the thing, it's not even about me. They're actually committed to their brothers in the brotherhood in the space, and committed to themselves in that agreement and the higher energy dynamic that's there. I'm just one of two figureheads in that space that are humbly there to maintain coherence for people to heal themselves ultimately and bring that coherence to themselves. And even if I say something, serve something, whatever it is, it's still not me. I'm just an emanation of their own being, the one being called forward with this body to enable and actualize an outcome. And I share this because I referred back to where I had breached integrity. And in this, there is so subtle because they did it again. They did it a second time. And on the second time, they were met with a different energy from me because the first emanation of love, because it was all love, was more gentle. And on the second, they were met with an emanation of love that was less gentle, yet was love nonetheless. And I also gave them an invitation to really tune into the God spark, the God self within, the God source that is, to ask themselves what their highest alignment and presence was in this space at that time, not to be told by me, to go in here and get the answer. And it was so beautiful because instead of sitting around the side trying to spark up a conversation, this younger guy in that moment, it was beautiful to watch, actually had a breakthrough, a maturation, and there was a rite of passage. And he got up and he sat by the guy deep in process, just pouring forth love, actually holding space, right? And these moments are going on all through our lives. But the truth is, in my business, I wasn't checking behaviors like that. And Vipassana as well, it teaches, it's not about subjective, this is good or bad, right? Because I could have easily said, this is good. And I really felt okay, I'm not here to be like master and commander, right? This is a space that I have honored to create with another man to support men in their process. There is a responsibility that comes with that. Yet ultimately, this is God's house, God's temple. It's the one source. It's the one man. So I'm also attuning to that. I'm not running around saying, look, this is our container. This is our group. You must do as I say. It's not like that. Now, the funny thing is some people, it's funny, but it's also sad. They actually do think that's what's going on. And I think looping back to earlier where I said, we just don't know what's going on. I posted another video about this. We don't know what's going on, really. Everything's being done for us. We're breathing. Our bodies are doing all these miraculous things. And it's the same thing. There's always someone, and often, ideally, if you've entered a good container, the person leading the container, that man, they're aware of numerous things that you're not because you're a lesser man, because they're actually actualized in some way to bring this forward. Ideally, I'm not saying that's true for all leaders and facilitators. And then I'm also aware that I might not be attending the container as an attendee, but I am attending the container of God's house, like the non-physical, like the tangible. And I'm in coherence with the beings there to actually guide this space. And I'm just humbly there listening and bringing forward that energy. So you see, it goes on and on, octave, 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 just like music, notes. And so let's see if we can land the plane on this. The point is that sometimes seeing, how can I put this? Just to make it so succinct. It's subjectivity. That's what it comes down to. In the end, all of this is subjectivity. Because whether it's breach of integrity, whether it's a behavior that you're exhibiting or you've entered into friendships, relationships, romantic, business relationships, whatever it is, and people are behaving differently than you would like. Maybe you're behaving differently with them than you would like. Maybe you would like to be seen, heard, acknowledged differently than you are. And maybe you'd like that for yourself. It's all arising from subjective experience. And that's the challenge, right? And the other challenge is that in subjectivity is separation. You can't, if you're actually truly in unity consciousness, truly non-dual awareness, and truly in unity as polarity, not even with, it just is what it is. There's no subjectivity. Now, as soon as we're subjective, we've created enough distance to be like, this is a man. This man doesn't see me. This woman doesn't see me. I don't see myself. I can't remember what I am anymore. I've forgotten that I'm it. Oh, I best start pretending to all these people that I'm something that I'm not. Oh, I see this vision for myself, or maybe they'll like that vision. And it's just like hologram on a hologram on a hologram. So I guess this has served many purposes. And I'm just going to trust that this meandering narrative for someone somewhere lands many things. And you see me as I am. People see me as all sorts of things. And that was so good. Actually, really, you know what felt really good in this? There's so much of my life I wanted to be liked. I really did. Oh gosh, I can even feel the the catharsis of just letting it all go. I wanted to be liked and more. I wanted to be appreciated and I wanted to be seen and all of these things. So much energy. And it was great because I was receiving all these messages from this guy this week. I thought, this is brilliant. Like, I'm okay. If this is how I'm being perceived, I'm actually all right with that. I have no current intent to put energy into persuading this man that I'm something that I already know I am as I am to the degree that I can know it. But I would just be persuading him that I'm who he wants me to be, not even persuading him that I'm me. I'm me. There's something he wants me to be. I don't know what that is, right? I don't know if that's his dad. I don't know if that's his friend. I don't know what that is, but there's something that I'm not giving him that he wants. And there are some projections and hallucinations that we all have. Well, that could be one of them. Who knows? Maybe he's my guru. Maybe that I'm hallucinating that he wants something from me. Maybe he wants to give me a teaching. I don't know. I'm voicing what I'm voicing based on what he's expressed. But certainly the guru delivers messages in all ways, such as the nature of life, the ultimate guru. So that was great. I feel so neutral, equanimous. And sure, we can sit down, but it's not my priority. Then he's getting bent out of shape that I'm not giving him my time. And then this guy's sending me specific places and he will only meet at these places. All these requirements. And then you think, wow, and he's telling me that I'm controlling and that I don't want to see him or acknowledge him or give him time. And I think the message is just don't make it so hard for people. Don't make it so hard for yourself. How can anyone see you if you're just pretending to be something you're not? Now look, insects have camouflage for a reason. Usually it's survival. And sometimes they have some other colors for a sexy dance to be alluring to a mate, like a bird. They can have certain colors and fan their feathers. But mostly, camouflage is a protective mechanism. And real apex predators, the real king of the jungle, not usually very camouflaged, if at all. But he's also not usually rumbling and roaring. Might roar if it's a gorilla. May exert force. Mostly they're just chilling. Being. And it really doesn't matter what it is, in which domain of life. It's just being. Even the women, if it's necessary, these animals will compete. But then others don't compete because they just see it as it is. So I think as men, definitely there's a lot to be learned about nature. And as we approach the hour, the invitation for you is just give it all up. You can have everything you want, be everything you want, be more than you ever dreamed. If you're willing to see it as it is. And that means both your avatar, the man in the mirror, and see it as it is. Pardon me, clearing. Wow. See it as it is. Because often you're looking at the man in the mirror through your illusions, distortions, and contortions, probably not being very kind. And if you are being kind, it's probably your ego just looking to make up for the absence of your cup being full. So see it as it is. And then also really see it as it is, as an emanation of divine orchestration. And when you can do that with you, you can do it with others. And you'll see that they're not others. Healthily, you'll acknowledge that they're sovereign beings. You'll acknowledge their sovereign state of the one. There's no charge. So have a look at that too, because I'm pretty sure there are probably people you have grievances with, charges with, all these stories, and they don't have anything with you. This guy's got all these, bless his heart, right? But it's not for me to be concerned about. Care but no concern. He'll have his path, he'll have his way. And there have been others like it. So if you're that man, just let go of all these grievances, because likely they're stories, and usually the people that you have a problem with, they're not even thinking about you. You're just donating them your power as an energetic aggregor. And so the irony is they're just benefiting from your frustration. Isn't life a joke, huh? Yeah, no joke, because we take it not necessarily seriously, sincerely, reverently, respectfully to thyself. Who knows? Who'll see this? Maybe I needed to hear it. Always know that. I share these things. Often I'm sharing something I've been through in the same day, if not the same month, if not the same year, if not the same decade, then at least the same life. And beyond that, as the one man. So men, often I'll actually end with some sort of invitation or suggestion. But you're your own man. We can go deep. It's funny, we say that, let's go deep, but we don't really go deep. We just talk about the things that we want to have seen, or just spill out to shit all over the coffee table with someone else and have them wipe it up for us. I don't know that it's going deep. That's just like purging in a bucket at an ayahuasca ceremony and asking someone to look at it with you. If you really want to go deep, and go where the ayahuasca goes, and go from where it comes. Roll in it together. Let's just perhaps at least remember that.